Welcome back. In this video, we are going to be continuing on with creating our own pages. So with this, we have the dashboard page. That's the one that we've been working with in all these different videos, but we're going to actually add a new page that we can hit either by URL parameter or by navigating to it. And so let's jump in and do that. If we go to the code that we have here, we close things up just real quick. We have under our source, we have the pages folder, and I'm going to just go ahead and create a new folder, new directory, and we'll call this test page. Obviously give it a better name when you know exactly what you're building, but we're going to do the same thing just like we did with the component. So I'm going to do test page TSX, and right now I'm not going to add it to Git. I've got my handy dandy autocomplete, so I can do test page. And the big difference with pages and components is we're not going to be wrapping it in boxes. We're going to actually use a page component out of the framework. And so we have page down there. It looks very similar to it, but it actually adds some special classes onto it that we can target. So we have our page in here, and I'm just going to add a label, variant, H3 test page. And we prettier that up and save it. And so now we have a page, but how do we actually get it so we can map a specific URL to that page? Well, that is handled up in the source folder outside of any of these directories in the file called routes. So in here you can see we have a path of / that goes to the login page, / dashboard goes to the dashboard page. The star is any other page that's not in this entire list. So that's kind of your 404 or not found page. And then maybe, a / for search. I'm just going to add on to the end here another object, and I'm going to give it a path of /test. And I'm going to say page that is going to load is the test page. And that is it. Let's go back to the test page. One thing I want to mention is that test pages will not receive any props ever. So technically we should probably just say never, or we could take the props off of this and just say this is a React component, and there we go. So pages won't receive props ever in our framework, but we're going to get to how we can actually read data in just a second if we were trying to pass data to a page. So there we have it, the page. Let's go ahead and try this. We go back to our page, and I forgot I do not have the SCSS file. So normally we would create an SCSS file. For now, since we've done it in so many other videos, I'm just going to comment this out and come back here. And so we said that the route is going to be /test. So if I come up here, I hit it, there we go. We have our test page loaded right in this little section is how this quick start guide is. But one thing I want to point out is that if we sign out, we can actually hit this test page right here as well. So there you have it. So if it's a page that you want people to have to be logged in by, we might need to change that. And let me show you quickly how we do that. We're going to go to the routes, and we're going to add another parameter here called options. And we're going to add a view here. So the view is which view they have to have displayed up on their screen at that time to be able to see that page. And I'm just going to say it needs to have the admin view on it. Where do those views come from? Well, they come from this app TSX, so the main app file. And if you look here, here's the entire function that's rendering our top level app. We come down to the return statement, and you can see we have this render views based on login status. So we come up here, we come up to this function, and we see we've got a login status from a custom hook, use login state, which we won't go over right now, but suffice it to say it returns an enum value that we can check to see is login status equal to unknown. If so, return nothing. So basically draw a white screen. If it's equal to logged out, we're going to return a view. So views contain pages, and that's the kind of the nested hierarchy. We're going to put a key on it and an ID of login. The ID is really the most critical thing you have there. So you can only have one view with the ID of the same. So you can have multiple views and split them, and maybe put a flex box around them so you could have that, or maybe you're doing a tabbed application where you have multiple views that are being hidden and displayed based on the tab status. So but our logged in view, we're going to draw a menu on the left side. We're going to draw a box with an app bar across the top, and then the view of admin will be underneath that app bar. You can see there that we have an initial path in case they don't type a path in there, that this is what's going to get loaded in there. And yeah, so admin is the one that we need. Come back to the routes. We have view of admin. So think of this view as this is the restriction. This is what the only page, this page can only be rendered in this view. And if we come back here now and have it loaded, we get a page not found, which is correct. So we come back, delete off that, and we do some sort of login and login. And now we can come up here to our test page, and it shows up there just like you'd expect. Okay, the next thing I wanted to cover is, say we need to pass some parameters to a page. Well, the traditional way of doing that in a web browser is to use either path parameters or query parameters. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean if we do a question mark and we say a user ID equals 234, that is passing information to it. The nice thing about it is if you go up here, hit copy, send that to a friend in an email, they would be able to load up the same page with the same information, assuming they were logged in. With that, we are going to add the ability to read those query parameters in here. So the first thing we do is we're going to say let params equals, and we're going to use our router. This is a global variable that we can import from our utils router file, and we're going to say get page URL parameters, and it's an array because there could be multiple parameters up there that we're interested in. And so I'm going to hit Alt Enter. Nope, it's not completing it very nicely. So let's see here. It should be key is the first item that you have. So that would be what is it that they're typing up there in the URL. So UID in this case is what we're going to say. And then it should be the type that we're interested in, which is an integer. Then we need the default value in case they didn't put anything in there. I'm just going to put it as 0. And then we can do an optional alias. This isn't required, but essentially if you want it to come back, a little bit nicer looking instead of UID. Say you wanted to keep your URL parameters kind of cryptic or short, you could use UID, but we can have this function actually return that value as user ID to make coding a little bit cleaner and nice. So that should be all the parameters that I need there. But now what we need to do is render it out. So I'm just going to say label variant. Let's just do an H6, and we'll say user ID is currently params. And so I missed a step, which is we need to, in TypeScript, we want to tell what the return looks like, the return value. So we just passed in a generic in there with user ID, and we're going to say it's a number. And come down here. So now this params knows about user ID. We put that in there, and that should do it. Pretty it up. Go back to the page. So there we go. We got user ID 234. And if I came up here and I change this to 874, you'll see the page loads with 874. Again, if we remove this entire thing, the default value will be 0. So this allows us again to pass information between pages and have that. So the final thing I want to cover is the ability to navigate to this page, let's say from a button click on the dashboard. So if I come back to the dashboard, let's add a little button here that sends us to that test page. So we will go to the dashboard page, And I'm just going to add a button down here. Button, and I'm going to give it a look of contain tertiary, sure. And we'll say navigate to test page. And in the onClick handler, we will do a fat arrow function. So just say fat, and we will say router dot, and I gotta autocomplete this now, navigate, and the path that you're wanting to go to, so /test. And in here we can actually add our query parameters too. So we'll say test 555, and we close that out. One of the things is in this IDE in PHP Storm, it's putting this kind of green little line underneath it. It's because it knows that this is a promise that gets returned, and we're doing nothing with that. We're not doing a then or a catch or anything. So a lot of times if I want to clean up my code a little bit so I don't see that, I just do a catch, and I'll do a console.error. So that should save it right there. And so now the thing looks nice. I pretty it up again, and let's go back to it. So here we have this. Looks like this tertiary has a white background, so it doesn't quite look great, but we hover over it. I click on it, and we get brought to this page with a, oh, see, I got it wrong. I got to do UID. So let's go back and fix that. UID equals there, save it, and come back to the dashboard, click navigate. There we go. User ID is 555. So hopefully this was a good introduction on how to create new pages and how to navigate through them. Again, ask questions, and we'll talk to you later.